Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security, is joining us on the line. Nana, you're welcome to Point Blank on Eyewitness News.
Thanks for having me, Morris, and good evening to your listeners.
Good evening to you too. This chaskele between the Energy Ministry, not the Energy Ministry, the various institutions in the power sector on this timetable issue, how can we find a solution to it? Because it appears strange and shocking, isn't it?
Yes, it does, Morris. Today, the power sector or the energy sector appears shepherdless. You don't see a leader who is standing up to the issues, accepting them as they are, and seeking to address them while calling for cooperation from Ghanaians. We have been asking for timetable for quite a long time. The PRC intervened as an arbiter between the utilities and consumers and asking the ECG to provide one. Unfortunately, the Minister of Energy conveyed to all of us, including the PRC, to produce our own timetable if we need one. And while we wish the country evil by asking for a load shedding timetable, today, very unfortunate. And I think that it is time we have a new leader, probably for the energy sector. But as we speak, there is no shepherd.
That's a very bold statement you're making. That you are saying that the current shepherd there has lost his shepherding skills, or he's simply disinterested and ought to be fired.
Omaru, you've been in this space for a while. The whole stuff being played out. Have you experienced this before? That you have you see clearly a conflict between the PRC and ECG on one side, then the GridCo and ECG on another side. And these are state utilities. These are state agencies. There seems to be a loss of control in the sector.
Where should the buck stop? The energy minister or the president?
It does stop with the energy minister. And I think that where we've got into, like I said, there is no shepherd. And so what's the use of the minister in that space? He must be relieved. Probably to concentrate on his any other agenda he is bidding for. He must be relieved of his post. It's becoming too much, Omar Standa. Is it not insulting, the statement that he made? Total disrespect to consumers. Are we asking for too much? For God's sake, I am a prepaid consumer. I have paid for that power that you need to supply me. In fact, you chose to put a meter in my house at a fee. That is also a contract in the form. And you chose to take my money in advance. If I'm not going to get the power, then just out of respect, at least tell me when I can have the power. But you don't look into my face and say I should go and produce my own timetable. So bad a statement. I think that he must apologize for that statement.
There are people who think that the minister is perhaps remote. There's an ECG management that runs the day-to-day activities at ECG. They should be held responsible. In fact, the PRC believes it's a board that should be held responsible, and PRC has charged the board members. They have since challenged that surcharge, by the way. Do you think ECG and perhaps the MD there is a problem?
I doubt. The problem is the minister. The PRC, a supervising agency,
a regulator.
The regulator providing that oversight over all the utilities, including the ECG, asked the ECG to churn out or produce a load shedding timetable. Then the minister come and say, go and produce your own. It means that is the minister preventing the ECG from producing that timetable. And so if we have to talk to anybody today, we must direct our attention and anger to the minister. Unfortunately, the PRC is under the minister, and so difficult for PRC now to vent their anger in that direction. They rather go to their colleague ECG and drag them along.
There are calls for the privatization of ECG. Is that a solution?
It is long overdue. And I think that we attempted one form and we frustrated our own initiative. Omari, why do I say that? Today, ECG, through technical and commercial reason, is losing more than 30% of the power they inherit from grid-coded transmitter. And that is a loss. Some of these losses will be, factored into the tariff that we pay. It means that we are paying for somebody's inefficiency, you and I, to some extent. The next is that we don't have a robust distribution grid. We don't have a strong distribution grid. It must be invested into. The next is that they are struggling to collect the bills, raise the needed revenue at the end of the value chain, and pay the other players within the chain. These are issues that must be addressed. We are struggling today as a power sector because of our 1.5 billion debts, impacting negatively on fuel supply and also on plant maintenance. Where are we going to get this investment into ECG? Where we know that already that the sector is debt-ridden. The private sector have access to the capital market. The private sector comes in with some form of competence and efficiency because they are more profit-oriented and driven, and therefore they will produce or put forward all the technology and innovation necessary to run efficiently and effectively the ECG. But what type of privatization are we looking at? Is it a full one? Is it a partial one? Is it a PPP? We must explore all the options because each of them have their own pros and cons. I think that we sought to even do the PPP through the PDS arrangement where a concession is given to a private person, inherit an asset of ECG, run it for some years, and these are the key performance indicators. It was well fit. It was well embraced from the previous government up to the current one, just that out of greed and corruption, we lost that opportunity. And so the new door is open for us to discuss and see the best fit for us today.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, Nana.
Thanks for having me, Omar Sanda.
That's Nana Mwesi the 7th. He's Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security.